would say when I really felt or learned or felt God's presence was I was probably about 10 years old. Just had started to going to church, getting into believing.
I was probably 8 years old. We was having revival, and I remember tugging on Mom's arm and like, hey, I feel like I need to go up front and pray. And over time, once I got older, I kind of grew out of it, and so it was one of those journeys to where I'm like, hey, I really want to discover who I am, aside from this, but up to that point, it was a nonstop ordeal. We went to every camp meeting and everything around.
So I kind of bounced around to figure out where I wanted to be with church, but with my journey, I just knew it was important for me to instill that with my kids. And so I just kept going and kept reading and learning, even if I wasn't actively involved in church. We were searching for something that fit our family dynamic. And so when I went home that night, I was like, told Anthony, I met with Pastor Todd, asked him some questions in regards to what the Vine is doing and what they stand for. And I really feel like this is something I want to check out.
Honestly, I didn't want to do it. Like I said, I was raised in church, but church left a bad taste in my mouth. The whole family, we just kind of walked away. We didn't walk away from God. We just walked away from anything that had to do with man. I didn't want anything to do with it. And she brought it up, and I was like, I like the way this sounds, so let's give it a shot.
When we attended our first service, and you didn't pass around a plate to collect money, it was a shock for me, but also I walked out feeling like, wow, this is really cool. Like, there's an opportunity to give if you can, but Pastor Todd has never led with, okay, now you're gonna bring out your checkbooks and you're gonna give money. It's always been like, here you go, you can give if you can, so that I've never felt pressure to attend based on whether or not I can give. And so when I came here and the whole preface was 9 a.m. worship, 10 a.m. service, I just felt like I found what I've always believed of how I wanted to be a Christian, like how I wanted to give back to the community, because I knew that even if I didn't have the money, there are other ways that I could serve and give back. And so the whole model just really resonated with me, because in times when I knew I couldn't financially give, there are ways that I can serve others and show love. We were in worship, and my girls are 10 and 12, and in the middle of song and worship, both of them, they were like grabbing me, and we were almost done with the final songs, and they're like, Mom, and I'm like, what? In my zone, and they're like, we want to come back.
I would say it's the difference in what I would consider traditional church compared to this. I come from a background where the offering plate was passed around with the pastor's truck payment in it, and certain people each time would be expected to pay the $700 note. And to see people, a church that wanted to give and not just take, is very important. I like the concept of stepping outside the four walls and going forth and doing what Jesus said to do, and not what some pastor says we should be doing.
So I've been a single mom twice. Single mom, married, divorced, single mom again, remarried. So my journey through church in those scenarios as a mom hasn't always been the easiest, especially going through a divorce. When I came here and people were greeting me and just didn't care they didn't ask me what was my backstory. They just were, hey, we're glad you're here. And it made me feel very welcomed. It made me feel like I had a place. I didn't have to prove myself. I didn't have to go through my whole long story of what's happened in my past. They were just happy that I was here in the present. One of the things that I actually really like is I can come dressed casual, and most of the mornings when we come to church, I've just cooked breakfast and started a load of laundry and we're rushing out the door, and I'm still doing mom duties, but I can show up and just be normal and be myself and not feel like I have to be put together. And it takes a lot of pressure off of feeling like I have to belong into some stereotype of how a church mom should be.
I would say my biggest struggle is just being comfortable back in church again. I didn't want anything to do with it. You know, I was in it from the day I was born until 11 years ago, and it's almost hard to trust people again. It's not that I don't trust God or what, you know, the Bible says. It's hard to put faith in anything right now. I feel like the vine is here to serve God and not for finding a way for God to serve us. It's refreshing to be somewhere, to be at God's standard and not man's. I would encourage anybody who didn't want to be in that situation anymore to come in and see, hey, you know, it's not that cookie cutter, backwoods, backcountry church. It's something new that can be useful for the community, and that's where it's at. Love thy neighbor, and I genuinely feel that.